actor Jon Bernthal recently spoke about continuing to play the Punisher under Disney in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I thought what he said was absolutely brilliant.
Brilliant.
I want to break that down and also give you my take on what I think Disney should do with the Frank Castle character. Let's get into it. What's up, everybody? It's Josh coming at you from Nerd Vengers Tower as per usual. And yeah, Bernthal's comments about coming back to play the Punisher are pretty freaking awesome. So again, I want to start by going over what he says here. We'll talk about it, sort of break it down. We'll go into the discussions that I think different fans are having about this possibility and why these discussions are even happening. And then we'll end up on sort of my take on what I think Disney should do with the Punisher here. So I'm reading this over on the direct. It says here, Punisher star Jon Bernthal admits he needs Marvel return to be dark enough. Okay, in an interview with Forbes' Scott King, the Punisher star Jon Bernthal explained how he would like to return to the character on the main MCU timeline. On a base level, Bernthal shows a level of profound gratitude that he had the opportunity to bring Frank Castle to life for the show's 2 seasons on Netflix. As for bringing it to the canonical MCU, he wants to make sure that the team would be able to do it right and make it gritty enough. Okay, so here's what he says here. As far as going on in the future, it's a character that I really feel like I have sort of in my bones and in my heart. I'm really grateful that I had the opportunity, and what sort of happens in the future isn't about whether they want to do it or not. Again, I don't really prescribe anything to those kinds of decisions. It's just about if they do it, are we going to be able to do it right? Is it going to be dark enough? Is it going to be gritty enough? Are we going to give the fans and the folks that this character means so much to, are we going to give them what they deserve? And if the answer is yes, man, oh man, I would love that. And honestly, guys, I absolutely love this sentiment here. Number one, because, you know, he's being very professional and being grateful that he had the opportunity to play that character. He also talks about how Frank Castle is really in his bones and in his heart. He really connects to the character. And I think he's just the best Frank Castle that we've ever had. I loved his portrayal in the Netflix universe. And I love how he's taking the question, right? He's like, it's not about whether or not they want to do it. Like, I don't really prescribe much to that. Like, do they want to do it? Does it make sense? Yeah. But for me personally, it's going to be about, can we do it the right way? Can we make it dark enough? Can we make it gritty enough? And can we give the fans, the folks that this character means so much to, are we going to give them what they deserve? And I think, frankly, the reason this is even really coming up, guys, and really it's like sort of 2 questions or 2 points of interest, like sort of colliding together. It starts with a lot of the reports about Charlie Cox and other characters from the Netflix shows coming into the MCU. Vincent D'nofrio, Kingpin, who was freaking awesome. Love that character on the Netflix shows. Heavily rumored to be in the Hawkeye show and to be coming into the MCU in more of a predominant role.
This is going to be amazing.
There's even a more recent rumor that in the Echo show, we will see a lot of the cast from Daredevil. This probably includes like Foggy Nelson, Matt Murdock, maybe a Karen Page, you know, Vincent D'Onofrio, Kingpin, a lot of those characters in the Echo show, and that we may well even get another Charlie Cox Daredevil show down the line. And, you know, he's even rumored, Charlie Cox as Daredevil is rumored to be in the She-Hulk show. So it's like Charlie Cox is getting a lot of work. So naturally, because Bernthal did it so well, and he's such a big part of season 2 of Daredevil, people are wondering, will we be getting the Punisher? Will we be getting Jon Bernthal's Punisher? Now, the other question with that is, of course, can a Disney-controlled Punisher actually be what fans are looking for? Can it be dark enough, gritty enough? I mean, Frank Castle is a very dark character. He kills bad guys. He doesn't capture bad guys, right? He is, for all intents and purposes, a real crazy killer. He's not necessarily even heroic, depending on what context you think about it, even though he thinks he has morality. He's got a code and his own justification for it. It's played out beautifully in season 2 of Daredevil with the, you know, back and forth between Daredevil, who he calls Red, and Punisher, right? Like, you just keep putting them in jail and they keep coming out. I put them down. Now, this is a discussion that's been happening in comics for a long time. Even Batman, there's this discussion of whether or not Batman is actually doing the right thing by not killing these villains, and he might have saved more lives by actually killing them and putting them down. When it comes to Punisher, it is essentially very important that you do that right, that you allow the Punisher character to go all the way to be dark and gritty and violent, and to have this sort of scary edge on this character. And the question is, can they do that? Will a Disney-controlled Marvel Studios even allow something like that to exist, especially because of the day and age that we live in, right? There's a lot of sort of reinvestigating of media and the role that media has in agitating and creating unease in the real world. Some people buy into that a lot. Some people think it's all bogus. Regardless, it is a difficult situation, and there's a lot of reasons to believe, and I think a lot of fans do believe this, that Disney will not actually go there. They will not be able to give us a Punisher that would resonate, a Punisher that we would really enjoy. Hello. Yes, regular Josh. It's Josh Shillington up here in the Diamond Lounge. What's up? Well, you see, Josh, HR is telling me that this new Punisher video you're doing, you're going a little too hard on Disney. It's going to be difficult for us to secure those shill checks if you continue on with this. Okay, got it. Go a little easier. Go a little easier on Disney. I got you. Terrific. I need another. Now, a lot of folks will tell you, you need Punisher to be rated R. To be able to have it, it doesn't just have to be gritty and dark. It has to be rated R and go there with the violence. And that's another big question is, will Disney ever actually give us a mass-produced Marvel Studios insignia R-rated project? Now, the obvious sort of answer to this is, yeah, we think they will, because even with Deadpool and the MCU Deadpool project, it is very likely that that movie will be rated R. I think even Bob Iger spoke to the possibility of the new Deadpool movies in Marvel Studios being rated R, as long as the audience knew it was rated R from a mile away and they knew what they were getting into. But we've also heard that there were certain jokes removed from the second Deadpool before Disney even had full control, and this was just because of the looming Fox-Disney deal, that Disney was literally sniping out jokes and things from Deadpool 2 before they even finalized the deal with the Fox properties. And some fans believe that Let There Be Carnage, the sequel to the original Venom movie, was likely made PG-13 and kept less violent to appease Disney's wishes to help facilitate a crossover between Venom and the Venomverse and the MCU. So there's a lot of reasons to sort of doubt this as being a possibility. However, my sort of takeaway here is that Bernthal is saying exactly the right stuff to the fans of that character, to the hardcore base, right? And so if we do see Bernthal coming back to play the Punisher, it can sort of be assumed that they are going to go dark and they are going to give us what we want. Like him making this statement, it feels to me like he's signaling to the fans that, like, hey, if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it right. So if you see me sign up to play Marvel Studios Punisher, rest assured, guys, even though it's Disney, even though it's Marvel, all these different things, it's gonna be gritty, it's going to be dark. I wouldn't do it otherwise. That's kind of what I'm taking away from these statements. Now, I think there's a perfect sort of solution to do this character in the MCU, and believe it or not, it actually happened in the original 90s Spider-Man cartoon. I've just been rewatching that cartoon. The Punisher makes an appearance in one of the arcs on that show, and one of the things they did with that character was talk about how he's, you know, a little crazy off the reservation. He's riding around in the Punisher van, which I thought was fan-freaking-tastic, and I really hope that if they do a Marvel Studios Punisher, they bring that van in, because that would be fantastic. But one of the things that's going on in this portion of the show is that the sort of sidekick microchip to Frank Castle, he's like his man in the chair. He is having a discussion with Frank, talking about using non-lethal force, and the target in this case is Spider-Man himself. And Micro is making the argument to Frank that a lot of these organizations that are after you, they might ease up a little bit if you actually brought this person in alive, as opposed to just using lethal force. And so you can sort of use microchip as a way to establish that morality and perhaps even be holding Frank Castle back. And you could have a sort of story happening where Frank is being urged by people close to him to try to use non-lethal force, and that could sort of hide and mask away some of the crazy cruelty. Now, in the show, he flips. He flips and goes to use lethal force, and it's freaking awesome. He's just doing the Punisher thing, and it's really, really crazy. But if a cartoon in the 90s can establish Punisher in a way that feels very Punisher from the comics, has that really hard edge on it, but yet is obviously okay to be on television for kids, I think Marvel Studios can do it as well, because I think you can have Frank Castle struggle with his justification for killing. You can bring up that idea that is a very popular idea that's been explored in comic books, but you don't necessarily have to glorify Frank or where he is even at as a person. You can say that he's damaged. You can show that this is, really making life difficult for him, and that a lot of other heroes don't want to work with him or don't actually think he is heroic. There's some examples like in the Civil War event with him and Captain America, and him having respect for Captain, but Captain thinking he's a killer. Like, there's ways to do this in Marvel Studios that I think from Disney's perspective, they would be like, okay, we need people to know that we're not glorifying the Punisher going out and enacting vigilante justice and just killing people, and yet establish that that is what he does. That is who that character is. But we don't necessarily want to glorify that. We want to make it look like this is a bad thing, that Frank is struggling because of this, and bring into question whether or not someone can even continue to function like this while having a character like Microchip sort of be his moral compass. That's sort of the way that I would handle it in Marvel Studios. So I'm just going to kind of leave it there, folks. What do you make of Jon Bernthal's comments? Do you think it's possible that Disney and Marvel Studios could give us a dark enough, gritty enough Punisher for you to be satisfied with it? And just let me know your thoughts in general about the Punisher in the comment section below here. Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe to our channel to see more of our content pop up in your recommended feed. And as I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.